Lil Durk's story has only gotten more convoluted. His identity has been connected to another murder from years ago, according to recently discovered court documents. Durk is already facing significant charges, so the timing couldn't be worse. The federal authorities are investigating killings that the majority of people have long forgotten, and they are suddenly linking them to Durk. Stephen Mack is one well-known figure that was gunned down in 2022. Things are starting to take on the appearance of a pattern with this new connection. But that's not all. Octavia Redmond, OTF Jam's baby mama, died tragically earlier. How much of Durk's involvement is there in 2024, and are these incidents all connected? Might this be the start of something that might ruin all the rapper has put so much effort into creating? Hold on tight, because this story is just going to get worse. A darker new murder case, the unforeseen link between rapper Lil Durk and the tragic January 2022 murder of Stephen Mack has taken a surprising turn. Chicago police believe that Mack's shooting killing outside Rosslin's Young Peace Center wasn't a one-off event, but rather As Mack left the institution, he was accosted by two shooters who intentionally hit him. Recent allegations suggest that Durk might have been complicit in the crime. According to FBI documents, Durk offered money to anyone who would kill Mack's gang members, despite the fact that he has not been charged with Max's murder. Even though these charges are grave, they have further complicated the rapper's already challenging legal battle. Furthermore, Durk is a party to another noteworthy case in Los Angeles where, due to the gravity of the charges, the judge recently rejected Durk's legal team's bid to get him released on a $3.3 million bond. The feds are now speculating that Durk's own social media post may be connected to Mack's murder, as his name continues coming up in the case. The way federal investigators are linking Durk to the events following Max's killing is what makes this case even more combustible. He has been accused by prosecutors of financing a plan to kill rapper Quando Rondo for pay. To obfuscate lyrics and Instagram posts as evidence, Lil Durk shared a story on Instagram shortly after the shoot that made some folks pay attention. His crew was shown in the photo, but only the family. The timing and tone of the message led investigators to believe that it was a barely disguised celebration of Max's murder, but it went beyond that. Durk put out a song. Just 1 month later, the Fed is looking into that for perhaps bringing up Max's passing. They assert that even though Durk has never admitted any involvement, the lyrics allude to what transpired. For those who don't know, the Gangster Disciples are among the most infamous prison and street gangs in Chicago, and they have a long history of violent disputes, particularly with the Black Disciples. Court filings reveal that investigators built their case using more than just music and social media. Did Durk give you that money suggesting a payment for the hit? Was one of the purported texts found on the phone of a suspect in Max's murder. Mack reportedly belonged to a Gangster Disciples gang named Smashville. The federal case's use of Lil Durk's music and social media shows that not everyone is protected from their history by their notoriety. Why would Durk take any chances to organize such a bold, well-publicized move? It is said to have something to do with his brother's untimely death, which allegedly sparked him on an unrelenting search for retribution. Lil Durk is still being held as of this writing, despite a growing number of federal accusations against him and fresh information in court about the validity of the evidence against him. On June 6, 2021, Durk's brother, Dant Banks Jr., popularly known as DT Thing, was brutally killed outside Harvey, Illinois nightclub. The shooting stunned the music business and the streets of Chicago when it happened late on a Saturday night. Just after 12:20 a.m., there had reportedly been tension before a fight broke out outside the club when a Harvey police officer on patrol spotted someone with a weapon. Dean was shot in the head, which added to the chaos, and Officer Mohammed was also injured during the shooting, though it is unclear who fired at him. But the carnage didn't stop there. Durk was devastated by the death, and soon after, tales of reprisals and the impact on Chicago's already fierce gang wars started to circulate. 2 hours after Durk BT was killed in what authorities suspected was a retaliatory shooting on West 155th Street, he was a cornerstone of his life and work and an important member of his only family movement, and he will always be remembered in the streets. Rumors regarding the rapper's reaction began to circulate after D-Thing was killed. In the world Durk came from, this was the sort of tragedy that called for revenge. On January 7, 2022, Mac was shot dead after being ambushed. Federal documents show that the murder was a planned act that was a direct retaliation for the death of D-Thing, not an act of randomness. According to the feds, Durk planned Max's murder as part of a retaliation scheme against the gangster disciples who were believed to be held responsible for the death of D-Thing. Gang battles that have dominated Chicago streets for many years are firmly rooted in the conflict between Durk's OTF team and gangster disciples groups. Federal investigators claim that Durk made a financial deal to get his brother street justice. After his brother was killed, the rapper went on a rampage to exact revenge. According to the feds, this sparked a higher-level conspiracy to kill Quizzo Rondo, a rival involved in the 2020 murder of King Von, Durk's close buddy. Durk's camping situation, despite Durk's best efforts to stay ahead of the charges, they continue to mount one after another. Whether he can outrun them or if his gang violence finally takes over the streets is the true question. Rumor has it that someone from Durk's own team may have flipped, completely upending the situation. By 2022, when Q's cousin Sava Robinson was assassinated, Rondo's circle had only gotten bigger. This, according to the FBI, was a part of a bigger revenge plot that Durk reportedly planned after losing both Dang and King Val. Court filings claim that Jam, a dependable member of Lil Durk's Soul Family crew, has been collaborating with federal officials for years. This was not a minor betrayal, but a deliberate action. An OTF member may have been wearing a wire and providing the feds with information directly, according to reports. After serving 12 years for attempted murder, Jam was freed in 2020. Now, he is being held responsible for providing important evidence that has Durk fighting for his release. However, there are rumors that Jam didn't only give some incidental details, all indirectly connecting Durk to the scheme's design. This wasn't a coincidental development for the authorities. Rather, it was a well-planned case, and Jam was allegedly one of their major informants.
12 years.
12
got
years.
out, interviewed, said he kept it real, brought him cars, gave him 50,000.
Right.
This. Made mention that ain't no smut on his name. He ain't never been a rat. Caught a gun case, but eventually he.
Jam's alleged treachery stemmed from both personal and gang factors. It started when Jam's baby mom reportedly sought legal counsel while dealing with personal issues. According to rumors, Jam was upset when Durk turned down the request. Jam was wearing a wire, recording talks, and giving the authorities crucial information about Durk and OT, according to allegations that surfaced shortly after. Yes, look into OTF.
The OTF Jam.
I think we looked into him already.
He's the one that ate the cheese.
No way. No.
Even other musicians appear to foresee Durk's downfall well in advance, and they wasted no time in exploiting it. They even predicted Durk's arrest approximately a year before it actually took place.
Just like the evidence they had on Shorty and they had on Durk too, that you just paid to get your brother killed. How you not in jail?
When a 15-year-old child was apprehended in Iowa months later and found to have been directly connected to Redmond's murder, the situation became more heated. He allegedly identified important OTF members and disclosed that Durk had orchestrated the murder during his interrogation. On July 19, 2024, Durk allegedly placed a hit on Octavia Redmond, Jam's baby mama, in retribution. Redmond was shot and killed while delivering mail in the middle of the day. The shooter, who was well prepared and masked, left the scene in a stolen vehicle that was subsequently discovered to have been set on fire to destroy any evidence. The murder served as a harsh reminder of what occurs when someone betrays Durk and was retaliation for the supposed snitching. Even though he became well-known in hip-hop, the streets he came from still hold him back, and the federal government is looking into his history. Durk was scheming with the Black Disciples, one of the most infamous gangs in the city, back in 2011. Growing up in Inglewood, an area known to the authorities for its gang culture, he had already experienced the strain of the streets. As Durk became involved in the gang's operations in his late teens, the distinction between ambition and survival loyalty became hazy. Police found a loaded gun with a defaced serial number when he was detained for gun possession that year because it exposed Durk's closer ties to the Black Disciples. This claim carried a lot of weight. Keeping firearms untraceable is a method used by gangs to avoid connecting crimes to Durk, and a gun with an obliterated serial number is street level 101. For that charge, Durk was briefly imprisoned, yet the situation revealed the struggle in his life at the time. He was both a product of his environment, stuck in a loop of gang codes and street allegiance, and a young father trying to make sense of his life. The lengthy legal fight that would accompany Durk's rise to stardom as a rapper began with his arrest in 2011. His lyrics were replete with allusions to the gang lifestyle he was leading and the realities of street life by the time he began to make a name for himself in the music business. His sincerity was welcomed by the rap community, and law enforcement monitored his activities because they were seen as more than just artistic expression. But that arrest garnered media attention since it was the beginning of the fusion of Durk's street persona with his emerging musical career. His status as a street celebrity and subject to ongoing scrutiny stems from his affiliation with the Black Disciples. Even now, investigators and prosecutors are ready to bring up his former affiliations in order to portray him as more than just a rapper. Became well known for his rap, the specter of his 2011 arrest and gang connections never really disappeared. Despite appearing to have occurred in the past, the gun charge laid the groundwork for all that has transpired subsequently, including the difficulty and the renown. Another major incident involving Lil Durk occurred in 2013. Around 3 in the morning, Durk was already making a name for himself in the Chicago rap scene. Durk was in the Englewood neighborhood, which has seen its fair share of gang-related street drama, when police came on the scene. They thought they had caught Durk in the act of looking into a complaint of a man carrying a pistol. In an effort to appear calm, Durk reportedly dropped a loaded .4 caliber revolver into a nearby car as soon as the cops arrived. Durk was charged with unauthorized use of a firearm by a felon. Nevertheless, because the motion was not overlooked, the police were able to seize the weapon. Given that Durk already had a criminal record from his 2011 arrest for gun possession, which featured a handgun with a defaced serial number, this was a significant offense. Despite his ability to reduce it to a less serious charge, it still recognized him as a subject under system surveillance. The dichotomy in Durk's life at the time was highlighted by his arrest in 2013. He was a budding rap artist who was strongly associated with both Chicago's gang culture and Chief Keef and the growing drill scene. But more importantly, this arrest strengthened Durk's street cred with the police and supported the idea that he wasn't simply a rapper, but a member of the Chicago gang scene, someone who wasn't above the mayhem and bloodshed that afflicted the city. Durk was sentenced to a period of incarceration. In many respects, it served as a wake-up call, even if it wasn't his first or last time in prison. The arrest forced him to confront the choices he was making and put a stop to his career. Even if he tries to improve his public image, his past of gang violence hurts his case and paints him as a violent criminal who continues to commit violent crimes. By showing up on Instagram in August 2024 looking more grounded than ever, Lil Durk altered people's perceptions of him. Durk went on to say in his Instagram story that, as a Muslim, he doesn't gang bang. He urged his supporters to view this as his new chapter in life and did not want it to be a personal move. He also stated that he wanted to be perceived differently, stating that he just wanted to be known as a parent, a guy, and someone who is totally devoted to his Muslim faith. It wasn't merely a remark. Rather, it seemed to indicate a change in attitude and a determination to break away from the gang life that had been pursuing him for years. Durk made it clear that one cannot assert the. It was an open and reflective moment that showed his maturity and responsibility. He clarified that while his life will still be reflected in his music, his goal was to improve himself for his family, his fans, and himself rather than to celebrate gang affiliation or violence. Although Durk had been openly Muslim since 2020, the turmoil and tragedies of the past few years, including the deaths of his close buddy King Von and brother DT Tang to gun violence, seemed to have affected him in a different way. Earlier in 2024, Durk discussed his stint in treatment. Although he did not provide all the information, it was clear that he had battled substance usage and made the decision to get clean both psychologically and physically. He claimed that the event had changed his life and given him the confidence that seeking treatment wasn't something to be embarrassed of or conceal. He was deeply affected by violence. He had been mourning their passing and had come to understand how much the street energy still drew him into a vicious circle of suffering. In addition, his own health problems made him slow down and focus on the important things. Was an important part of his road to serenity, his family avoiding trouble, and spreading optimism were now his top priorities. He was committed to breaking harmful patterns and staying on course. Realizing how embedded Durk was in the street culture, which he is now detaching from, makes this transition more challenging. Leaving a life that has influenced you can be challenging, particularly if your music and image are linked to it. As an example for a rapper so closely linked to the streets, Durk is trying to soften his image by sharing his faith and his new path. Days after the Hamlet of Broadview awarded him an honorary key for his charity work, Lil Durk was arrested in Florida, causing immediate and serious repercussions. The mayor didn't mince words, declaring that the action was a reflection of their nonprofit Neighborhood Heroes principles, as well as legal liability. Making such a drastic change is not just courageous but also monumental. It's his declaration that he is ready to lead, not only for his followers but also for everyone trapped in the same cycles he has struggled to break free from. The acts in what appears to be a public split between the community and the rapper back on October 18th, Durk received recognition for the work his Local Heroes Foundation had done to support impoverished communities and local youngsters. The foundation had demonstrated a side of Durk that was rarely in the press and had been a brilliant example of his giving back. Durk's foundation appeared to be proof that he was attempting to balance the scales, offering hope to the same streets where he had previously sung about surviving through mentorship programs and scholarships. But when the news leaked, Durk's. In the Quando Rondo case, the arrest abruptly altered the trajectory of events. Broadview Mayor Katrina Thompson wasted no time in delivering a statement that severely damaged Durk's story of redemption. She asserted that even higher moral and ethical standards of action were held by the people's public opinion. She explicitly said in her written statement that the honorary key and the collaboration with Local Heroes were canceled since Broadview's affiliation with Durk no longer matched its ideals. This was about safeguarding the village's reputation, not merely about dealing with bad press. Essentially, the community was attempting to make progress for Durk, and it couldn't allow his mounting legal troubles to overshadow that progress. His work with Local Heroes had been one of the only ways he was intentionally separating himself from the street life and the problems that had dogged him for years, from dating to local politics, so the timing couldn't have been worse. Protecting Broadview's interests and preserving the community's values were the mayor's top priorities, and she justified her decision by citing a duty to the citizens. More significant concerns are brought up by this fallout regarding Durk's ability to ever completely overcome the shadow of their past. When they attempt to turn things around, what a man who has fought in the trenches, saw, and done things that most people can't even fathom ever be accepted completely. Losing such collaboration harms his reputation and jeopardizes the basis of his attempts to close the gap between his past and the better future he has been attempting to create, according to both supporters and detractors. Durk used the foundation as a means of reworking his narrative to demonstrate his capacity for positive change. Following the revocation of the rapper's honorary key to the city by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, the consequences of Lil Durk's legal issues intensified. Days after Durk was arrested in Florida on murder charges for more serious offenses, the public continued to vilify him. Although Durk has not yet been proven guilty, he currently faces some of the most serious charges of his life while incarcerated in Florida's Broward County Jail. harsh declaration that made it apparent what the city stands for while simultaneously denying Durk the symbolic honor. The key had been presented to Durk as a thank you for his work with the Neighborhood Heroes Foundation, his organization. It was meant to demonstrate his progress from a young man living on the streets of Inglewood to one of Chicago's biggest celebrities giving back to the neighborhoods where he was raised. However, the mayor and city authorities were unable to keep Durk as a public figure representing Chicago once the accusation was made public. When Johnson stated that the city of Chicago holds its officials to the highest standards, even if everyone has the right to the assumption of innocence in a court of law, he made his stance quite plain. He clarified that the city chose to resign the honorary key that had previously been granted to Durk since the charges against him, whose true name is Mr. Banks, do not align with the principles the city embraces. The mayor emphasized how important it is to maintain the community's respect and trust by abstaining from actions that undermine it. Although the decision to revoke the award was not taken hastily, it was judged essential to preserve the city's reputation and values. Durk's timing couldn't have been worse. Only a few weeks prior, he was receiving recognition for his services to Chicago from Neighborhood Heroes, an organization that has provided funding for youth initiatives, scholarships, and even grocery distributions in underprivileged areas. The key to the city is more than just a ceremonial gesture. It is a symbol of leadership integrity and positive influence, Mayor Johnson added. For a moment, it seemed like Durk had succeeded in turning attention away from his tumultuous history and toward his attempts to motivate change. The goodwill he had established, however, swiftly vanished with his detention and the accusations that followed, including allegations that he tried to leave the country. Supporters of the mayor's decision contend that it was an essential measure to preserve Chicago's reputation, while critics contend that the city was too eager to distance itself given that Durk has not been proved guilty. Social media users and locals reacted swiftly, with many questioning why Durk had been granted the key in the first place considering his long history of legal issues and suspected gang affiliations underscores how difficult it is for public individuals to escape their past, particularly when it continues coming back to haunt them in real time, despite the significant influence his music and charity endeavors have had. As they prepare to defend growing murder charges against Edge, which have the potential to ruin the rapper's career and personal freedom, Lil Durk's legal team is getting ready for the battle of their lives. He is accused of being involved in a violent scheme of retaliation against Quando Rondo and his crew. But the case is becoming more difficult to defend as the evidence grows, and Durk may have to spend the rest of his life in prison. The OTF team is being portrayed by prosecutors as a criminal organization rather than a record company, and they might even file a race-CO case against him. 50 Cent spotted the warning signs long before this all occurred and tried to make Durk defensive about the hazards of people in his immediate vicinity. 50 Cent mentioned in an interview on The Breakfast Club that he asked Lil Durk if the crew was really as sincere as they appeared to be during their time in New York. Sevy was concerned about the speed at which loyalties on the streets could shift and told Durk to be careful and keep a close eye on them. Recalling a bad experience where someone had abruptly arrived at his place, Durk seemed to take the warning seriously. Durk inquired as to how his address, which was meant to be confidential, had been obtained. Given that Durk was already beginning to doubt the dependability of those in his immediate circle, this interaction implied that he wasn't entirely dismissive of 50's caution. In the current situation, Durk's legal situation, by posting a picture of OTF member Jam supposedly eating McDonald's in an interrogation room, hip-hop analyst DJ Academic sparked a flurry of rumors on social media regarding snitching with federal authorities. In connection with the 2022 killing of Quando Rondo's cousin El Poo, and what officials say was a reprisal for King Val's death, the rapper was arrested on allegations of murder for hire and conspiracy. Durk was arrested along with 5 other OTF members. Prosecutors asserted that the attack was extremely personal and that Durk's actions went beyond simple business. They say Durk was out for blood after losing his close buddy in a violent confrontation related to Rondo's camp and they have blamed King Von's death in 2020 as the trigger. Beyond charges of funding the attack, the government case against him is developing a narrative that Durk is the head of a violent network that. The legal battle is made considerably more challenging by the way Durk is framed as a music collector. Durk's attorneys are doing everything they can to disassociate the man from the image, claiming that his music and his tough exterior don't really reflect who he is. In order to cast doubt on how things like money transfers or unclear text messages can actually show his intention to commit, the defense is getting ready to strongly challenge the evidence. Murder.
Lil Durk appeared in court where a judge ruled there was enough evidence for him to go to trial.
They also note that Durk is a prime target because of his notoriety, particularly in light of the criticism he has received for his controversial background. Nevertheless, prosecutors are concentrating a lot of attention on what they say is digital proof of messages between Durk and his OTF staff regarding flight money and plans, so things are not looking good despite all of that work. The conviction rate in federal cases like this is not to be taken lightly, and if that evidence turns out to be true, it may be a major blow, making it harder for his defense to claim that he is being falsely accused. This is about Durk's entire legacy, not simply whether he gets arrested. By cutting his ties to the streets and performing charitable work through his local Heroes Foundation, he has spent the last few years trying to enhance his reputation. He has made donations to youth initiatives run by marginalized communities and made an effort to show that he might be a positive role model. But all of that is now being overshadowed by these claims. Even before a trial starts, there is already a lot of impact. His charitable relationships have been canceled, prizes have been withdrawn, and public support is. Even Durk's most loyal fans are starting to question whether the man behind the microphone is truly separated from the life he has tried so hard to leave behind as the charges get more serious. For his admirers, who have stood with him during previous legal troubles because they believed in his turnaround and his message of tenacity, this is a hard pill. His legal team will have a challenging challenge in the courtroom since they have to not only point out weaknesses in the prosecution's evidence, but also refute the popular perception that this might be the most difficult struggle a rapper who has built his reputation on persevering in the face of adversity has ever faced. We appreciate your time, and if you enjoyed this video, please click on any of the others to view more of our channel's material. Remember to hit the bell button for more likes and subscribe. As the trial draws near, Durk is a great manipulator behind the scenes. The pressure is increasing. Durk's legacy, career, and freedom are all on the line.